Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by lineups.com. Nate and Josh here with you guys. Tuesday night, we've got 11 games in the NBA. So we're going to be taking a look at our best bets here. Got some sides and totals. Also have the player props that we always have for you guys. So make sure you are subscribed to that channel. Continue to follow along as always. We're going to get right into the Timberwolves. Got the Blazers here as well in the later game, Nate. You're taking a look here at the Wolves to be able to cover, and I definitely agree with that one.
Yeah, just to kind of lay the smack down here, take out some of their frustration after getting whooped at home. I mean, Wolves have been a roller coaster all year, but if they're locked in, if they're motivated, should have no problem with this Portland team that's going to be missing three of their most important offensive players, like no Avdia, no Sharp, and you move down the line and no Caleb Love to even pick up any of that slack. Wolves getting Rudy Gobert back. Deal with Donovan Clingan, who's a minus 32 and has averaged just 12 PR his last three matchups against Rudy, including the last time these teams met. Rudy was a plus 28. They dropped 133 at Portland. And weird thing about Minnesota, for some reason, they've scored 14 more points per game on the road than at home over the last 2 months. So go figure with that one. But they can score, and Portland with those guys out, I don't think they can score at all. There's a lot of Scoot Henderson going on, a lot of the highest turnover rate in the NBA by margin to just give the Wolves some easy buckets going the other way. In their last 10, they're also second worst guarding above the break three. They're depending on paint points and getting to the rim, and the Wolves, obviously, with Rudy Gobert, very good in that department. They've held the Blazers just 107 with a 103 offensive rating these last three matchups, and I just don't really see many ways Portland can keep pace here with the Wolves coming out gunning and motivated.
Yeah, it all makes sense to me. I mean, the turnovers are what you look at for Portland here. I mean, if they get into the lane effectively, then yeah, they're going to be met with Rudy Gobert. If they can't even get around their guys, they're probably going to be some steals going the other way. And I don't know what that does to minutes for guys on Portland or how to really get there with it. But I just don't think they're going to be in a spot to have any kind of reliable rotations anyway. So speaking of unreliable rotations at this point, man, poor Suns, travesty, because they're not going to have anybody tonight. Grayson Allen questionable. So we're looking at a lot of Collin, Gillespie. No Jordan Goodwin, by the way. I was going to add him in as guy getting usage. No Goodwin. So we're talking about just a dearth of guards. Like there's just not going to be guards out there for this Phoenix Suns teams outside of Gillespie, and Gillespie's going to be met by Derek White and the sort of focus of the Celtics defense, which is going to be a problem at this point. They are looking to shut down the ball handlers a lot more, and they're just not going to be left with shooters to sort of try to take advantage of the pressure that the Celtics keep down low as they sort of force everything outward. And at this point, like Jaylen Brown's questionable too. This might go down. I mean, Grayson Allen going out probably doesn't move things too much if he's officially listed out. I mean, Jaylen Brown would maybe move this to 5.5, but I still think like the players that are going to be out there for the Celtics are going to be able to handle at that point. You're talking about like the top four if Grayson Allen's out, 5 ball handlers and like scores outside of Gillespie for the Suns that are going to be out. So it's not a good look. I mean, this total went down from like 209.5 to 206.5 because these two teams are playing well defensively. But you look at Phoenix in the last 2 games without obviously Dylan Brooks and even Devin Booker, who's an underrated defender up top at the point of attack. Now you're talking about a team that has not been a top 10 defense in those last 2.
Yeah, they've just been the worst offense in the league since losing Book and Brooks back-to-back here.
Yeah.
And the Celtics so disciplined defensively, it's hard to imagine Phoenix, another team, keeping pace here. It is the front end of a back-to-back for the Celtics. We'll mention national TV tomorrow at Denver, so that may be why Jaylen Brown could sit here. In which case, maybe you just want to fire like Peyton Pritchard props and assume that they're just going to keep this thing rolling because Joe Mazzulla's Celtics do not take nights off. Bulls team total under to 112.5. I mean, this total keeps creeping up. It's at 234, which I'm fine taking the under in general. Like the Hornets are not a team that's going to fly over totals consistently. They're coming off a bit of an outlier where LaMelo hit 10 threes against the Wizards and they got to 237 as a total, but held the Wizards to 112. So under this, the Bulls are a joke offensively. I mean, just a joke in general. They're running this 10-man rotation where they're not going to let certain guys play much, a la Josh Giddey. Simons is out tonight, so they've been depending on his 3-ball because he can just pull up and get his own shot because they have absolutely no chemistry since they remade their team and with this mishmash of guards and whatever the heck they're throwing out there. I mean, Isaac Okoro now leading the starting lineup in minutes, just not an offensive player, as we know. They have the worst assist to turnover ratio in the league since getting these guys, 27th in offensive rating, and down to about an average pace as well. So they'll come down to what Charlotte wants to play, which is the second slowest pace in the league since they've been hot, dead last in percentage of paint points in that span. So they're not going to necessarily carve up the Bulls here. But I am, not taking the game total because the Bulls could easily give up 125 here. This could be like a 120 to 100 win. It could be like a 101 to 110 win for the Hornets. But I think they'll lean on their defense, especially with Miles and Musa coming back off the suspension. They give up nothing down low. And that's part of why Josh Giddey's worth fading here, just as throw out a player prop related to this. Like, even though he's probably the main option, he has a high usage rate when he plays his 25 minutes. Like, there's just not much for him here against a Hornets team that limits spot ups, is absolutely elite guarding the rim, especially when Musa is out there. And yeah, I mean, just should do a really good job on Giddey, who's looked awful since coming back from injury and basically only got over this once because he hit 5 threes against Detroit.
Which is wild. Yeah, that the fact that they were in that game because of those threes that were just raining in was wild. But I would agree with everything you're talking about here. I mean, Musa versus the Bulls is a look as well there. I'm going to take the Heat to cover. I don't trust either of these teams fully, but I am starting to get a bit more trust in the Heat as like Tyler Hero's coming off the bench. It looks pretty good with him doing that because they maintain a pretty like sort of even keeled offensive rotation, and really their starting lineup got a lot more guys getting involved, and they've got the shooters now with like guys like Pelle Larsson in the starting lineup, a couple other guys coming off the bench that definitely helped them where they were struggling last year, and now that they look like a good 3-point shooting team. And this is just a bad Bucks defense, man. Like, what's wild is they're still 23rd in defensive rating on the season. Because they're like the far and away, like them and the Wizards have been just that bad. A little bit of the Pacers in there, but really like they've been notably bad without Giannis, obviously, who's still, I don't know if he's coming back this season, but he's not playing tonight. And we're talking about a defensive rating that drops to about 10 points, raises 10 points without Giannis out there. So like Miami, they've had a couple big blowouts of teams really in the second half against the Hawks the other day. But they've been handling a bit more in a way that I'm like, all right, if they've got the key here for me is like they've got Hero coming off the bench, they've got Bam and Ware, Jovic is out, but Hawkes is healthy, and Norm is healthy. And once they have that cavalcade of guys, they're still about above 6 games above 500. Easy for me to say. And this Bucks team is, we know where they're at, man. They're like about the 5th worst team in the league at this point.
Yeah, I definitely would take this as a side. I like the total here at 226.5. It actually dropped a couple points because of what you're saying, because the Heat are at full strength and they go full bore here with the pace. And now the Bucks, new look Bucks with Cam Thomas off the bench, can actually score like KPJ here. But just to throw some numbers on that, I mean, their last 5 with Powell, they're scoring 125 a game. The Heat, the last 5 with Hero, the games have averaged 241.5. So the other team getting that Hero, and when they have Norm Powell, they absolutely light it up. I did exclude the game against Boston there because, again, shout out C's, lights out D. Player props, James Harden, and got this at 26.5, but it's picking up steam. I mean, it's just a good spot for the Cavs here to, like a prove it game. I wouldn't mind, parlaying them to win here against your Knicks after the scheduled loss against OKC, what everybody was talking about, like 3 and 4 nights. I mean, it's a day game in the 3 and 4 nights. So the Cavs did not have the energy. Harden still got over. He still has 18 plus points in every competitive game with Cleveland, not the 2 jokes of the Eastern Conference. He still has at least a 24% usage and at least 26 PA in all those games that have been even remotely competitive. Since joining Cleveland, he's averaging 21 assist points created per game, 13 potentials. Obviously, we know he dimes up. We know he lobs to these 2 lob threats. Now Evan Mobley ramping back up. He has 2 options there. And the Knicks are actually 9th worst guarding the roll man on the pick and roll. So that's where the assists look pretty good. Big rest disadvantage here for the Knicks. Like I said, the Cavs had that tough spot coming in there, but Knicks had this is their 3rd of 4 nights, and they really had to claw back to be in either of the last 2 games. So, I mean, not a huge, like, in terms of the days off rest disadvantage, but they've used a lot of energy here. OG has not done a great job on Harden. He's averaged 33.5 PA his last 3 against the Knicks with OG. He does tend to have higher usage at MSG, 30% for his career, 24% in his last 5, averaging 31 PA at MSG.
Yeah, he never has to play in the playoffs against the Knicks, so that's helpful. I can hang that. Just a little shots fired. No problem with this. I mean, I think Jared Allen's a pretty good look at PR as well, with the biggest beneficiary of this this trade here. So I can definitely see Harden continuing to get those dimes, and it's not a terrible match, but I don't know what to do with the Knicks. It's like one game they're a top 5 defense, the next game they're a bottom 5, so it could be all over the place with them. But to your point, OG and his matchups seem to have an advantage for Harden. But I think Kel'el Ware, man, boards. I think double. It's a good matchup overall. I mean, it's the Bucks. That everything's easy overall, but like Jovic is not playing, and that's the backup center that takes Kel'el Ware's minutes. So when Jovic is around, like he has a floor of like 11 minutes. I don't know what he's going to play when Jovic is around. But when Jovic is not around, I know his floor goes up to like 18 to 20, and he's averaging about 24 minutes in those games, and that's all with Bam playing as well. So yeah, they don't really like him with Bam. They've decided that's not a thing. But in a game against the Bucks, where there is, I mean, the blowout, I'm not going to call a blowout, but like once you get to around a 7-point spread, now it's in the realm of possibility, especially when a team sort of just caves the way that the Bucks are doing. Like they're not trying to win, they're just throwing guys out there. So I think Kel'el is good for about a 22-minute projection. That's all I need to know. He's at about 12 and a half boards in 14 games that he's played without Jovic. So it's just a direct link to his rise in the pecking order when Jovic is out, and great matchup. So I'm going to take Ware in this one.
Yeah, good matchup to stay on the floor because the Bucks will run those double bigs. There's always someone for him to guard. Bam they're starting to figure this thing out in terms of playing him and Bam together. And Bam is not a selfish rebounder or selfish player anywhere. So he will box out and let Ware come in and clean the glass. So it makes sense to me. Kevin Porter Jr. on the other side of this, I mean, just high usage guy. I would love to see Davion Mitchell ruled out if you're going to play this, just as a little bit of water to throw on it. But I mean, he's listed on the injury report with 3 different things. Davion, he's sick. He has a shoulder injury and a head injury from running into a screen too hard. So I don't know if he'll be at his full defensive prowess. If he's not out there, I mean, you're getting a lot of Simone Fontecchio along with Tyler Hero as just guys to absolutely hunt in it's just a pace up game whenever you play the Heat. So you just have opportunities to put up stats. And KPJ is just such high volume. Really, in his last 5, he's the second most passes received in the NBA. He has the most drives in the NBA, 21 and a half drives per game. So he's getting in there, and the Heat are allowing opportunities on drives with those 2 bigs. They're not allowing a high percentage in their last 10, but you can get in there, and KPJ is finishing. He's actually shooting 100% on his paint touches in these last 5, shooting 57% in general on the drives. And 53% of the pull-ups, and really starting to like get into his bag, feel himself. You could see the rhythm. I mean, somehow got over this in just an absolute blowout last time out. This one should be a little closer at home, and the ball should just be in his hands constantly.
Yeah, I'm scared of fading him at this point for sure. There was some stuff when he came back from injury where I was like, oh, he's still not really getting minutes, but no, he's getting minutes, and he's got usage. So yeah, he's maybe the only guy at this point that I'd be looking at and considering. I mean, if Miles Turner was out, then I start looking obviously at like Bobby, but yeah, there's nothing else here for me other than that. So I am going to fade someone playing the Celtics because that's usually a good idea. As you kept talking about their defense, it's not just their defense. It's the fact that their offense is also really good, limiting rebound opportunities, and they play at a snail's pace, limiting all opportunities in offensive possession. So, yes, Collin Gillespie is going to be the guy that you would imagine has the ball in his hands as much as anybody. I still don't really care. In fact, I think that hurts him if he is going to be the focal point of the defense, where Derek White is now like the guy guarding him consistently on the starting lineup for the majority of his minutes on the floor. Don't like that for Gillespie at that point. So that's really what it comes down to. I mean, this number is just wildly high. If you look at him in the games without Booker, he's still looking at about 22 and a half PRA per game. So his volume, like all over the place, still doesn't just like get that high. And even in this last game against the Blazers, he was lined at about the same thing. He was at about 25 and a half PRA in that one. That also didn't have Grayson Allen, who might play in this one. I don't know if he's necessarily blowout proof or not. I don't know if the blowout comes into play. I just think the pace for the Celtics and the matchup that he's going up against, this is not a number he consistently hits. So why would it's kind of like when I faded Cade yesterday. It's like, I love Cade. 27 and a half points is high for him and he's playing a good defense. So this is the similar look here for Collin Gillespie.
Certain guys, when you move them up the pecking order, are just not going to be able to sustain what they're doing in terms of the efficiency. If like one of Booker or Brooks was out, you might say like Gillespie's going to pick up the slack, shoot more. But yeah, when you take everybody off the floor and you just like try to play off Jalen Green, who's not really going to share the ball too well anyway, I do worry about Gillespie hitting, any sort of spike.
Yeah, no, for sure. So that is all the time we have for you guys in this one, though. Definitely make sure to subscribe, follow along the rest of this season with us. We'll be back each and every weekday with the best bets, got the player props. So until we see you next, happy betting.